First, I want to start off with saying thank you to everyone for all the support from the beginning of the channel, coming up on almost 2 years until now. If you're new to my channel, thanks for being here. I do a few different things on here, like show my daily training with the sandbag, kettlebell, and bodyweight work, articulate points, and recap weeks of training by informally rambling on about it, and this is one of those videos, so here we go. Sandbag journey has been a ride. I attempted and didn't reach my goal of shouldering 300 pounds. Now I'm about to recap this session, so let's get into it. So leading up to this, I spent 4 weeks training with this sandbag filled with 280 pounds, and this is my 6-week training with 300 pounds. 2 sandbag sessions and 2 kettlebell and calisthenics sessions, 3 days to recover. My preferred way to go about training heavy like this is to minimize the exercises and focus on practicing lifting and moving the sandbag horizontally, vertically, and upright. The more practice you put in, the more you will find a preferred position to pick the sandbag from, something that's direct, repeatable, and sustainable. For example, when I was training with 280 pounds, horizontal picks became my preferred method, and that's pretty much my favorite with any weight below that. At 300 pounds, my preferred pick method is upright, believe it or not. While it's great to have preferred methods, I say it's also great to practice from different positions to stay well-rounded and level up the skill. So to start this session, I set a running clock for 45 minutes where all I did was attempt to shoulder the sandbag. I attempted 5 times, intending to go to the left shoulder. That's the easier shoulder to go on for me because I'm right side dominant and I've always been slightly imbalanced there. When you get the sandbag to the chest, at least how I do it is I use my left arm to keep the bag controlled and use the right arm to push the bag in my entire core and posterior chain to heave the bag up. I got close on a few of these attempts, but to no avail. Having the bag that high at the chest strains the absolute most out of the legs. In and of itself, it's an absolute grind getting the bag at this weight and size from the lap to the chest. On a few attempts, I tried picking from upside down. It became a grind to get the massive top around my knees. That's the drawback of picking vertical with a longer sandbag like this. So much distance to travel to get over the knees. No matter what I tried, the fatigue just got worse. Maybe it's from a lack of leg and core strength. Maybe it's from not being mentally prepared. These days at the moment, my mental bandwidth is so stretched thin, and it's been like that for some time. Maybe my entire body strength is a limiting factor here, but the solution is simple. Tons and tons of reps, time, and force until the body has no choice but to adapt. I'm not an expert on breathing or the Valsalva maneuver, but I do know how to use my breath to lift, because lifting sandbags require much more than just muscle mass. So in training with a given heavy weight, it will always feel the same the entire time you train with it, and it'll feel like getting nowhere fast. That's farther from the truth, because after training for a given amount of time, once you drop the weight, like for example in 2024, I trained with 300 pounds the last 4 weeks and dropped the weight to 200 to start 2025. Then I added weight from there in smaller increments, say 10 to 20 pounds, and that's where the results of struggling with heavier weight can take effect. Turns into a smoother weight transition, and I ended up shouldering 280 pounds from that. So ultimately for this cycle, I don't expect 300 pounds to feel any easier. It's just going to wear my body out until it's time to drop the weight and do a rebuild. It basically sets the foundation for the next cycle, laying the groundwork for smooth weight increases. And that is what all this grueling heavy lifting that I call shock loading really does. The time hasn't come for 300 to feel sustainable like the weights below it, but this is just the beginning of the process. Sandbags offer no shortcuts, only hard work and improvement of technique. They're unforgiving and bring out that harsh primal feeling of struggle, often suppressed by comfort and convenience. That brings me to my next point, the before and after of this session, and this is kind of an example of real life here. The day before, I pounded and exhausted my feet for 12 hours on a concrete floor working. I've been woken up twice throughout the night to change diapers and make bottles because my 10-month-old son doesn't sleep through the night yet. My wife has gotten into making t-shirts, air fresheners, and stuff like that as a little side business. She had her first pop-up event. Guess who had to load, pack, and move all that stuff to set that up? This guy. And that's where you can see the real carryover from this style of training. Hours after this session, I had to go to a grocery haul that same day as well. I did this session at about 5 a.m. I didn't eat until about noon, about 6 hours after that session. With everything going on, my main focus is just simply staying consistent and refusing to be distracted and falling off. I already had to rearrange my routine after driving 4 hours total a day to and from work. 16-hour days, including the drive. All you can do is focus on the good and avoid the negative. It's all about figuring out how to win, as in staying consistent with training when you're constantly bombarded, overstimulated, and just mentally stretched thin. And that is one of the aspects I kind of want to show on this channel. At the end of the day, we're all just regular people with similar issues, struggles, and challenges. We just have to make our way the best we can. So that was a little recap of some failed 300-pound sandbag to shoulder attempts with a little talk about training in life. The only way to move forward when you don't reach your goal, at least the way I'm going to go about it, is take 2 weeks of training with the 225-pound bag and then ramping back up for phase 2 with 300, which will involve carrying and box squats at this humongous weight. It's all a process, and you got to learn to love the journey every step of the way. Well, that's all I got. If you have anything to add, any questions, leave it in the comments. Thanks for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next video.